Hey, good day, everyone. Hey, last meeting we have started with the topic on care and management of horticultural crops, where we talk about the soil management. And under this topic, we have fertilizer application, then liming, then erosion control. Okay, today we will take up another topic, which is about cropping system. Cropping system is actually the crop production activity of a farm. The picture here shows the one of the type of cropping system, the well-known monocropping system. Shown here is the baby leaf lettuce. This was uh, taken in Brisbane, where we had our field tour to different vegetable areas after our conference. Okay, the term cropping system refers to the crop or the sequence, arrangement, or pattern of crops in time and area, as well as the process of growing them. And it comprises all cropping patterns in the farm and their interaction with the farm resources, other household enterprises, and the physical, biological, technological, and sociological factors are the environment. So the cropping system involves all the activities in the farm as well as its interaction to the different components. Cropping system involves diversification, meaning the planting of more than or many crops, which would result in the development of ecosystem services over time that would supplement or eventually displace the role of synthetic external inputs in maintaining crop productivity and profitability. So take note that there is supplementation, and the aim eventually is to displace the use of synthetic external inputs in favor of the organic inputs that are being derived from the farm itself, which will maintain crop productivity and profitability. So always productivity and profitability goes hand in hand. In general, cropping systems that utilize leguminous plants as an intercrop or relic crop or a crop component in succession planting can provide beneficial effects to soil fertility maintenance. This is because we know that leguminous plants can fix atmospheric nitrogen, which are used for the or to enhance the growth and development of crops. And there are several considerations in cropping system. The first is that the type of cropping system we will adopt or we must adopt must conserve or improve the nutritional status of the soil. Second is that the organic matter must be there to improve soil structure, and the cropping system must be able to protect the land from erosion for maximum growth and development of crops, and ultimately it will give high yields so that the farmers or the growers, of course, will have higher net income or profit. Okay, for the classification of cropping system, there are two. The first one is monocropping. Okay. Monocropping refers to the presence of a single crop in a field. So from the prefix mono, meaning single or one. This term is often used to refer to the growing of the same crop year after year in the same field. And this practice is better described as continuous cropping or continuous monocropping. And this picture shows the monocropping of eggplant. So only one crop is being planted in an area. And it is continuous. After the harvest of eggplant, okay, another cropping of still the same crop, eggplant is being done. Okay, there are advantages of monocropping. First is that the whole area is treated the same because there's only one crop being planted, and there will be fewer kinds of equipment needed, and economically efficient system. Again, this is because only one crop is being being taken care of, and so there is a simple production system, fewer kinds of equipment, and efficient system. However, there are also disadvantages of this monocropping system. And the first is that it's difficult to maintain cover on the soil in the sense that only one crop is being planted, and it encourages pest diseases and weeds, and more so it can reduce the soil fertility and also damage the soil structure. This is because since only the same one or the same crop is being planted uh, one after another, so the same amount or kind of nutrients is being removed from the soil, so that's why it reduces the soil fertility. And the second type of cropping system is the multiple cropping system or poly cropping system. So from the word itself, multiple or poly, so it means that there are many crops involved here. So it is defined as a cropping system where two or more crops are grown annually on the same piece of land. As shown here or reflected here in the picture, there are several crops that are planted. We have here carrots and at the center, and we have also here on the other side different varieties of lettuce, now as shown by the different colors. There are different types of multiple cropping or polycropping system. This includes intercropping, crop rotation, sequential cropping, multi-story cropping, contour cropping, and alley cropping. So one by one, let's take them up. The first one, intercropping. This means the growing of two or more crops simultaneously in alternate rows or sets of rows in the same piece of land. So take note of the word simultaneous. So they are grown together or at the same time. And it's possible to do this intercropping in different ways. One such is by row intercropping, mixed intercropping, strip intercropping, and relay intercropping. For the row intercropping, so this is the growing of two or more crops in well-defined rows, just like this setup. This is a setup of zucchini and okra in row intercropping. So we can see here that this first row is zucchini, then followed by row of okra plants, then again alternated with zucchini, then again okra, then zucchini. So there is well-defined rows of zucchini and okra. So if you have not known yet or you do not know zucchini, it is one of the members of the Cucurbitaceae family, where the cucumber, ampalaya, melon, squash belongs. However, this zucchini is rather it's a characteristic of the members of the Cucurbitaceae family to be grown in the lower elevation with high light intensity and high temperature. However, zucchini likes to grow well in areas with low temperature, so they grow best in the highlands. Okay, we have tried planting zucchini in Kabintan, which is the vegetable bowl in Leyte, and is about 600 between 600 to 700 meters above sea level, and zucchini grows well there compared when it was grown here in Vishu, which is a lowland area. Okay. In this type of cropping system, we have to consider the growth rate of the above and below ground crops when we do this intercropping of vegetable. Okay, we should know that crops that root deeply such as carrots and tomatoes, can be intercropped with shallow vegetables such as broccoli and lettuce. So, you should take note of this. Deeply rooted crops uh, is advisable to be intercropped with shallow rooted crops or vegetables. Then there was also studies which revealed that there's an increased net return when when intercrop of two rows of okra is done with one row of cowpea. Okay, the second one under intercropping is mixed intercropping, where the seeds of two or more crops are sown in a field without any particular arrangement, as can be seen in the picture. So there are several crops here. Actually, I can see here marigold, no, in one row. In another rows, there are eggplant with marigold mixed in the rows. This would be useful when you have two different sizes of plants such as corn and lettuce. So this leaf lettuce tolerates shading of the corn. And also, this mixed intercropping, we can also plant pumpkin or squash seeds, maybe scattered, among the corn plant, because these squash and pumpkin can tolerate the shading of the caused by this corn plant. Another type is the strip intercropping, which is the production of more than one crop in strips that are narrow enough for the crops to interact, yet wide enough to permit independent cultivation. So in here we can see strips of land. This one is being planted with soybean, and next to this is corn. You can also see in the other side that there's also this corn being planted. So there is a wider space occupied by the soybean. So wider enough to permit independent cultivation. Actually, soybean and sweet corn. And the response of corn and soybeans to strip cropping is strongly influenced by the width of the strip in which they are grown. Okay. Earlier planted and taller corn intercepts more sunlight at the border, with soybean and produces greater yield, no, because it has this edge effect or border effect. On the other hand, the yield of soybean are reduced at the border due to the shading caused by the taller taller corn plants, and also to water competition and depletion of nutrients by the adjacent corn. And the trade-off may limit the potential of strip intercropping. So this is actually, shall we say, a disadvantage, because there is that competition of the two plants at the place or at the site where there is that where they met. uh, that's the border. So that we have this edge effect or the border effect, where the plants which are short statured or shorter in height will be put in a disadvantaged situation of intercepting lesser amount of light. Okay, the fourth one is the relay intercropping, which is a method of intercropping where the second crop is planted into the first crop before harvest of the first crop. And so we have here a sample: tomato and better gourd relay cropping. So what is being shown here is there is the presence of the tomato, which are already well established, and not so clear here is the better gourd or the ampalaya. But we are sure that ampalaya has started growing, no, because of the presence of this trellis. No, trellis, which is a requirement for growing ampalaya. Uh, Generally, this second crop, in this case the ampalaya, is planted to the field of tomato when the tomato have been well established, that is when the particularly when they reach the reproductive stage of growth, so that is they started flowering and fruiting, so that by the time that they are approaching senescence, the ampalaya had already grown up to the above part or upper part of the trellis. So the second crop is planted in the same field as the first crop after the first crop has achieved reproductive maturity, but before it has reached the physiological maturity. Hey, another type of multiple cropping system or polycropping system is crop rotation. So this means the changing of the type of crops grown in the field each season or each year, or changing from crops to fallow. So if we will start here from Leguminosae family, so when you say Leguminosae, so this refers to the beans. uh. So after the beans or the legumes, okay, we will plant Brassicaceae crops. So members of these includes the broccoli, uh, the cabbage, cauliflower, radish, and others. So it's advantageous for the brassicas to be grown after the legumes because of the fixed nitrogen of the legumes. Then after the brassicas, so we will plant members of the Solanaceae family. So this includes the potatoes, the tomato, sweet pepper. Okay, we are not familiar with this crop, the aubergines. And after this Solanaceae family, we can uh, plant in succession of that, or after that Solanaceae, the Alliaceae and Umbelliferae vegetables or crops, just like the garlic, carrots, leeks, uh, and onion, celery, and others. And we anywhere of the cropping system or along the succession of crops, so we can also plant these other crops or other vegetables, the spinach, the beetroot, courgettes, squash, lettuce, radish, cucumber, celery, sweet corn, and melon. So you can see that different groups of vegetables are planted, no, one group after another. Okay, it is a must that the leguminous plants should not be followed by leguminous plants as well. Or okay, here also in Solanaceae, do not plant. Say for instance, you are planting tomatoes now. Okay, after tomato, do not plant sweet pepper or do not plant hot pepper because they belong to the same family, and so they will be attacked by the same pest. So if you will plant the same or plants of the same family uh, following crops of the same family too, so there will be a problem of pest build up because you are building up food for the pests. Okay, we have here brassicas follow legumes. Okay, so crops such as cabbage and cauliflower and soil previously used for beans and peas. Okay, the latter fix nitrogen in the soil while the former benefit from the nutrient-rich condition, thus created. Potatoes also love nitrogen-rich soil but should not be planted alongside brassicas as they like different pH level. So the pH of the soil must also be considered. Okay, next is sequential cropping. Okay, this is where one crop is planted after harvest of the first crop. In other words, this is the growing of two or more crops in sequence on the same field within a 12-month period, with the succeeding crop planted only after the preceding crop has been harvested. So, for instance, here we can see that from April to July or almost August, corn is planted, and after the harvest of corn, mung bean is being planted. So mung bean is only planted after the harvest of corn. So this is sequential cropping, unlike in the unlike in the relay cropping where the second crop is planted while the first crop is still in the field. Okay, another type is the multi-story cropping system, which aims to accommodate two or more crops of different heights. Okay, take note, different heights. Then canopy patterns and rooting system to maximize the use of available sunlight, nutrients, moisture, and land area. And the fundamental objective of multi-story cropping system is to increase the yield and income. So this is a picture showing multi-story cropping system. So we have here at the sides the level 1, 2, 3, 4. So the first level is the tallest crop. In this case, this is pakay, uh, and then the second level is the next taller crop. In this case here, we have banana and also papaya. So look at their heights. And in the third level, so the plants belonging here, okay, we have the sweet corn and the other, okay, it could be the sweet corn or the white corn. And we have here the sugar cane. We also have cassava, uh, in this part here. And the other crops are not common. And then in the fourth level, no, near the base, uh, or near the surface of the soil, we have the sweet potato, and we have squash, and we also have taro and beans. Okay, an important consideration also here is the crops at the fourth level or at the base must be able to tolerate shading. Select crops that can tolerate shading, because with the many crops or canopies in the first, second, and third level, it is just expected that more shading, is experienced at the fourth level or near the base or near the surface of the soil. Okay, another type of multiple cropping system is the contour cropping system, which involves sowing of crops across the slope in line with contour. And theoretically, this reduces both erosion and runoff by removing the natural drainage channel down the slope, which occur with conventional cropping. And the crops provide a perpendicular barrier to runoff due to stem density, and there's also a reduction of runoff here. And there is an improvement in infiltration of the water. So we can see in the picture contour farming system. So we have many crops here planted along the contour of the land, considering the contour of the land. And in determining the contour or the elevation of the land, we have to use here the A-frame. Okay, Another is the alley cropping. So this is defined as the planting of rows of trees which are uh, selected, no, those nitrogen fixing trees at wide spacing, and thus creating alleyways within which other agricultural crops or horticultural crops, be it annual or perennial, can be planted in the alleyways because there is that wider spacing between these nitrogenous fixing trees. It is a simple technique that restores nitrogen to the top layer of the soil so that farmers can use the same piece of land year after year to grow their crops. I take note restores the nitrogen at the top layer because from the leaves of these nitrogen fixing trees or plants, once they will fall off to the ground and once decomposed, so they will be storage or they will add up nutrients to the soil, particularly the nitrogen. So this is a picture of an alley cropping system. So we have here at both sides here leguminous plants. I think these are Madrid cacao trees, and we can plant here at the alleyway. Hence the term alley cropping system or other agricultural or horticultural crops. Okay, for the all of those mentioned are types of multiple cropping system, and we will summarize the advantages of this multiple cropping system. Okay, the first one is maximizing returns from limited resources because there are many crops that are being planted, unlike in the monocropping system. There's only one crop being considered. Here in multiple cropping system, there is what we call as diversification. There's also an increase in food security and farm income, an improvement in soil cover, and increase in soil fertility, biodiversity enhancement, because as I've said, there are diverse crops being planted in this type of cropping system, and the roots of the different plants serve as erosion control, and there's a reduction in the downstream or flooding or siltation, again because of the roots of the many plants holding the water and soil, and there is a reduction in groundwater pollution, control of pests, and increase in crop yield, and I should also say that increase in income of the growers. Okay, if we have advantages, we also have the disadvantages. So the first one is competition is higher. Competition for the different growth factors. The light, the nutrients, water, the space, okay, which are and the other growth factors necessary for the growth of the plants. Higher in the sense that there are many crops being planted in one area. And of course, there's an increase in labor constraints because the different crops have different cultural requirements which the growers must cater. Otherwise there will be lower yield. And of course, this requires skilled workers which can answer or which can do the the requirement or give the needs of its crop. Requires better knowledge on the crop choice, the plant densities, the population densities. This is very important. Uh, how dense the area is being planted. If we planted more, so there's a problem of very high competition. If we planted less, so there's also a problem of not using the land appropriately. And then we should also know the planting and maturity dates. So this requires also to uh, knowing the maturity indices of the crops we dealt with or we plant with, and then the plant architecture and crop arrangement. These are also necessary because if they are too dense, now we don't know that it needs pruning. So this will cause higher degree of shading, which will lower or lessen the rate of photosynthesis, and of course this will result to lower yield of our crops. And these are all for the topic on cropping system. If you have questions, please feel free to raise them on Thursday, which is our lecture day. So thank you very much for listening to or viewing our topic on cropping system.